Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my 1 year review of living in Japan. I'm a random British dude who has been living in Japan for just over a year now. Literally just over a year because I renewed my visa just last week. And I'm going to be talking to you about a couple of things, like what have I been up to, what is life like in Japan, and because I'm an unorganised little fuck, I've been trying to make this video for 2 weeks, so I have actually got a script to the side that I'm going to be trying to stick to, but I don't really like to go off scripts when I'm doing these kind of things. So, yeah, this could be a complete shit show. But anyway, I've broken this review down into 4 different sections. Number 1, I'm going to talk about the procedure, how I came to Japan, and what have I actually been doing, broadly speaking, while I've been in the country. Number 2, I'm going to be talking about the job, which is ALT, which most foreigners tend to go with when they first come to Japan. And I'm with a company called Interac, which, if you've looked into jobs in Japan, you've probably heard of them, for better or for worse. Third, I'm going to be talking about the money situation. How much money do you actually need to come to Japan, and how much money do you make as an ALT? Spoiler alert, it's not a lot of money. And lastly, I'm going to be talking about the social side of things. How difficult is it to make friends? How difficult is it to get into social groups here in Japan? Because there's always a bit of a debate online about how people find it. Anyway, let's get started. And I have with me, because I'm an organised little teacher, I have a whiteboard that says procedure, so I know what I'm talking about. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but let's try this. Anyway, I'm going to start from just before my arrival, when I applied. I applied in June of 2018, I believe it was, and I applied online, straight out of university with a bachelor's degree. And being from the UK, being a native English speaker, those are the only 2 requirements I had to have to be an ALT, which was bachelor's degree, be native English speaker. I believe there's like a list of countries that are acceptable to be ALTs. So I think like Philippines is one, Jamaica, USA, I think even France and Germany maybe. I think it depends potentially on each individual company, so check that out. There's a list out there somewhere. Anyway, I applied in June. In August, I went for an interview. I was kind of told at the time by the interviewer to expect an acceptance email in a few months. I think it was like October or September. I got that email. No, wait, it was November. Definitely November. And then there was a bit of a communications blackout between me and Interac, as I was due originally to fly out in March. At least that's what the website says. Like there's two dates that you fly out, and mine was meant to be March. March came and went, and I didn't have any more information. I tried calling the UK office a few times, but they couldn't really tell me much more other than that they will ask the Tokyo office about it. I then eventually just called the Tokyo office, and I stayed up till stupid o'clock in the morning to do so. And as I was talking to them, the lady on the other end, she just said, "Oh wait, so are you not in Japan right now?" And I said, "No." Like, "Are you calling from the UK?" I said, "Yes." Like, "Oh." I think she realised that I'd waited up until God knows what time just to try and clarify what the hell was actually going on. And funnily enough, about a week or 2 after that, I did get an email with my placement saying that I'm going to be living in Sendai in Japan, in Miyagi Prefecture. And fast forward then till June the 6th, I went down from Wales to London. I got a direct flight to Tokyo, because for some reason direct flight was much cheaper than some stopovers. And I arrived in Tokyo about 5 in the morning. My bus to get to the hotel was at 10. So bearing in mind that I'd just been awake from Saturday the 6th, and I stayed overnight in a hotel, flew out on a Sunday. No wait, it was Friday that I left my house, stayed overnight, my flight was on the Saturday, and then I got to the hotel on the Sunday. So from about Friday afternoon to about Sunday 2 o'clock, I didn't sleep. So I was a wreck that first week of training, and I just quickly discovered that I am terrible when it comes to public speaking, or at least I was at the time, which I kind of already knew, as I royally screwed up a lot of the exercises by trying to cover my nerves by being really over enthusiastic. which apparently some people thought was really good. Some people thought was, no, you're obviously too nervous. So it's something that I've had to work on personally. But anyway, next thing, I left Tokyo after a week, went to Sendai, where I lived for 2 months, and working in the Interac office, doing lesson plans and stuff, because I didn't have a school assignment just yet. Some dispatch companies tend to hire more ALTs than they think they're going to need, just in case ALTs drop out unexpectedly, or people just don't show up like when they're meant to be first arriving in Japan, because apparently that does happen. And after those 2 months, I had my schools given to me because the ALT before me was going back to Australia, like I just said, extra ALTs. And so I then moved from Sendai to Ogawara, a little town to the south, about 40 minutes down the train line. And it's quite a nice little town. I like it here. It's quite good. And then I commute from here to my schools, which are about 20-30 minutes drive out. So I've got a car. I've got an apartment all to myself. I pay for all the bits. I do get subsidised a little bit, but I'll talk about that more on the money stuff. And as soon as I arrived here, I've been working in one elementary school and one junior high school. 2 days junior high, 3 days elementary, teaching between 4 and 5 classes a day, depending on which school I'm in. And that's basically been my situation for the past year. My routine is I wake up at about 6:45, go to school by about 8:20, finish school at 4:20, make your blazer jokes now, and then I come home, go back to work, and that's my general routine. And that is kind of the procedure. The one other thing I'll mention is driver's license and visa renewal. Two other things I'll talk about here. My driver's license, because I'm a UK citizen, and I've got a UK driving license, and I've been driving for quite a few years already. When I went to the driver's centre here in Japan, all I had to do was fill out a few forms and have a quick interview, basically, where they asked me, like, what did you have to do to get your driving license in the UK? And they determined, oh yeah, fair enough, he's basically already got all the same level as we would expect from a Japanese driver. So I was given my license, and I literally only had to wait for about 3-4 hours with the help of a lovely Japanese lady who was interpreting for me because I do not speak much Japanese. And as for my visa renewal, I actually did both of these in the same day, so it was quite quick and easy. My company sorted out for me a package of documents that I had to take to the immigration office. I had to sort out a few documents myself for both of these things, actually, driver's license and visa. I had to get a residence certificate from my local town office, which is really easy. Just my company gave me a letter that I just went in, handed over to the guy at the desk, and he asked me how many do I want. I said 2, and he said that'd be 600 yen, and here you go. I had to take my foreign card, my Gaijin card. There's a word for it, I don't know what it is, but yeah, that was easy to get. Filled out a few of these forms that Interac had already filled out for me, but I had to do like a few extra bits and pieces. Handed it in. Literally yesterday, I was given a thing arrived in the post, which was a postcard that I filled out in the office, and I now have to go back to the immigration office and just pay, basically, because it's already been accepted. I don't actually know if they accepted my, because I applied for 3-year extension, but I think they maybe might have only given me 1-year extension. I don't know until I go there, I guess. But that's about it for the procedure stuff. That's the general outline of what people get up to, or what I specifically have been up to for this past year. Now, if I just scroll my notes down, what was my next bit I was going to talk shit about? Oh yeah, the job. Bam! I know what I'm talking about. Being an LT, well, the job itself actually differs from teacher to teacher, because ALTs, we are generally speaking partnered up with a Japanese teacher of English, and it's the Japanese teacher of English, or the JTE, it's their job to be like teacher number 1. The ALT, assistant language teacher, we're just there to help. So for some teachers, I am just a recorder. I just say the words they want me to say, and the students repeat after me. And for one teacher, for example, that's exactly what I do. The students just repeat after me, and If kids are struggling, I will go to them and try and like say the word, get them to repeat it, and that's generally the gist of what I do with one teacher. Another teacher, for example, would give me 10 minutes at the start of every lesson where I do like a warm up activity, which basically translates to play a game in English for about 10 minutes. So I had like a few games I would like rotate around. This is in my junior high school, so the kids already had quite an okay understanding of English. Like they could ask and understand simple question and answer things like, what's something do you like, or can you play the guitar, and things like that. And so after that, after the warm up, I would tend to do like speaking activities, like the whole I read a passage out and the students repeat after me. And actually now what I'm doing a little bit differently is because they are trying to, in my area at least, they're trying to actually increase the amount of English lessons. I believe it's been doubled in recent years. So my first graders are doing a lot of writing in my junior high school, and these like fresh first graders, because of the whole coronavirus thing, school has been delayed for months here in Japan. So I'm actually doing a bit more writing stuff for them. Like during class, I will go around, just if I see a mistake, I won't actually tell the students what they did wrong. I tend to just point, and the kid will read it. He'll check like the page before, and he'll go, ah, naruhodo, and he or she will figure it out quite quickly. So honestly, being an LT is not that difficult. I don't find it very stressful. Besides that, I mentioned before that I was very nervous when I first came to Japan. Literally within a week of being in front of a class, it just, can't snap my fingers then, it vanished. That nervousness just went. I managed to very quickly get into a routine, like, good morning everyone, how are you? What day is it? What's the date today? How's the weather? Simple things like that. And I actually, because I started as an ALT after another one who was already at these schools, the guy before me could speak fluent Japanese, and he'd been there for about 3 or 4 years, so the students all loved him. So I kind of had that really awkward phase of, oh, it's the new ALT, but he's replaced a teacher that we all like, and this one can't speak Japanese. So for a while there, it was a little bit, I did feel a bit, I think these kids don't like me, but now that I've settled in and the kids have gotten used to it, I think it's going alright. I personally really enjoy my job. The kids are great. They're so well behaved. Like the whole stereotype of Japanese kids being well behaved, 99% accurate. There's only a handful of kids who who misbehave, but it's like 1 out of 20. There's always going to be at least one, I reckon. And also, as I mentioned, that the teachers in both my schools, they do make an effort to talk with me. There's actually quite a surprising number of teachers who they do have a basic level of English, so they will try and talk to me and include me in conversations. Last year, when I went to Bunkasai, I think I can't pronounce that properly, but Bunkasai, like end of year party. I went to one of those with my elementary school, and they did like a pop quiz kind of thing, and one of the rounds was just about me, about Matthew Sensei, and all the questions were in English. So I was partnered up with one of the other teachers for this, whose English level was pretty good, and I just had to sit there fingers on lips, not allowed to answer because I was his partner. And yeah, it felt great. It felt really like they wanted to include me, and honestly, that trend has been prevalent throughout most of my interactions with my teachers in both schools, is that they do make an effort to talk to me. Although some teachers probably don't make any effort to talk to me, but again, I don't make an effort to talk to them. So it's a two-way thing, because I'm too nervous to use much Japanese, and I think some of them are too nervous to use English with me. But overall, I really enjoy my job. I can easily see myself doing it for another 2 or 3 years. I would highly recommend anyone who's thinking of coming to Japan that you look at the ALT route. It's by far the easiest, the most common, and it's honestly a lot of good fun. Moving on to the next bit. The thing that everybody loves. That's right. Yeah, it is the right way up. Money. how much money did I bring to Japan? I can't remember in yen, but I brought with me about 2,400 British pounds, and I spent about £1,700 of that worth in the first kind of 2-3 months of just being in Japan, because in Japan, when you move into an apartment, you generally have to pay 3 months rent up front, and there's something called key money, which is like, I believe it's been explained to me, it's like a gift to the landlord. It's not a deposit, you don't get this money back, but it's like an extra thing you have to pay. I don't really understand it, but it's not for me to understand. It's a thing you have to pay. There are apartments which are advertised as being like foreigner friendly, no key money, but I've not stayed in any of those apartments. I've only stayed in Leo Palace and or company like rented apartments, so it's been quite easy. The apartment that I'm in right now is a Leo Palace. Like this desk, there's a bed there, wardrobe. Most things in here came prefurbished. Like there's a TV in here, there's Wi-Fi. My computer with a little dancing chica I had to buy myself. That is actually what I spent my remainder of my £2,400 I brought. £1,700 I spent on like food, rent, drinking. I drank a lot, and drinking in Japan can be pretty expensive if you're in the cities. And then, yeah, I spent the remainder of that money on a decent PC because I'm a nerd. I want to play my PC games as well as obviously work stuff, but PC games come first. So that money went quite quickly, and I'm glad that when I basically timed buying my PC to when I was going to run out of money to when my first paycheck would come in, so I transitioned that way. I reckon now I kind of know yen a bit better. 200,000 yen is what I would say people should aim for as like a minimum sort of goal to bring to Japan. But if you want to be comfortable, like really comfortable for your first few months, I'd say 300,000 yen is you're safe. You can go out to restaurants, you can do a few of the touristy things in your first couple of weeks, and not be in dire straits money wise. So 200,000 yen minimum, 300,000 yen to be comfortable. Anything more than that, well, the more money you bring, the more fun you can have, because money can buy you fun things, as it turns out. In terms of wages, the money that I earn from month to month, it's about 220,000 yen-ish I make a month as an ALT. There's some a bit more because I have a rental car, so I'm subsidised a bit for that. But if I take out my rent, take out my utilities, take out my taxes, take out my health insurance stuff, and all the other stuff, on the average month I have about 80 to 90,000 yen to play around with for myself, which in British money is about about £600, £500, I think. But yeah, it's quite, for me, I find it quite comfortable. Like that's like my food, some other things like petrol. But I find it enough to be able to buy a few video games, go out drinking on the weekend, like honestly, buy a lot of food like bentos and stuff, and at the end of the month I might have a little bit left, but not a lot. So living month to month like that can be quite comfortable. But during spring break is not paid for me at least. So for the past 2 months I was kind of on like a reduced wage. I remember 1 month I only got paid like 30,000 yen was like what was left after all my rent and tax and stuff, and that was tight. But what that also shows you is that you could survive off of as little as 30,000 yen a month, especially if you're buying your own food and cooking it for yourself and eating like a local, not like me just buying bentos and just buying foreign food because I'm an idiot or going out to restaurants. But even though I have discovered that you can go out to a restaurant like I think Yamada Denki's a computer. What's the other one? There's a sushi chain that's really cheap, pretty good, but I can't remember what the hell it's called now. But yeah, I've been there quite a few times, and just piling my plates high, and at the end of it all, maybe about 2,000 yen, which British money about £14. £14 is what you'd expect to pay in the if you go out for a meal in the UK. Like most pubs in the UK, like you get like a mixed grill, you get a gammon. You're looking at like £10, £14 there already. But these sushi places just piling plates high is great, pretty cheap, pretty good. Oh fuck, camera, don't knock that. Oh god, Jesus. Oh god, panic moment. So yeah, that's kind of the money situation. I would definitely say it's, if you're used to a higher income per month, like if you're from a quite a wealthy background, you might struggle. But because you think, I've definitely heard this story from a few people saying, there's no money, I can't buy things, and so what are you trying to buy? And I'm like, I want to buy a new watch, or I want to buy a new jacket. And I'm like, why? I'm from like, so I've always ever had like minimum wage jobs in the UK, and this is like maybe like just above that, so I think it's quite comfortable. Moving along from that. That's the money, that's the job, that's the procedure, the last bit that I want to talk about, and I think is personally the most important, the social shit, which basically, a smiley face from a little beer. Beer, social, friends. I personally think in Japan that if you are a drinker, you will have zero problems with making friends. Because I definitely hear two extremes that I hear about in Japan. One of them is that it's really hard to make friends. The other one I hear is that Japanese people only want to be my friends because they can learn English off of me. I've not experienced either of those. I've definitely found that going out to izakayas, going out to bars and things, that if it's quite a quiet, like local place, like the town I live in now, half the time I walk in, somebody has already made a comment about, oh shit, look, there's a white boy over there. Look, there's a Gaijin, a Gaijin. Like, oh, interesting. I don't see many of us around. And, yeah, for example, when I first came to this town, one of the first things I did was on the weekends I would go out to bars just on my own if I couldn't get any of my other foreign friends to come out with me. And one time I went to a bar, sat down, there was a group of young men in there as well. They're like university student kind of age, a little bit younger than me. And I sat down, the bartender came over to me and started trying to talk to me a little bit. And he didn't really speak English, I didn't really speak Japanese, but we could kind of communicate. And then these Japanese guys saw us talking. One of them turns around, says something to me, I say something back, and quickly we both, like me and them, realised that we can talk in like broken English / broken Japanese, because I understood vaguely what they were saying, and I would answer in English and they would kind of understand what I said. Long story short, about an hour later I'm doing tequila and whiskey shots with them, and I end up in a karaoke parlour with these guys, and I don't remember the end of the night very well, because I was that drunk, but they definitely helped me get home to my apartments in a taxi. I got in a taxi with them. They dropped me off at my apartment, then they went on to their place. They bought me tequila, they bought me whiskey, and so yeah, they were very friendly young guys. Another example I've got is when I was living in Sendai, I would go to the Hub. It's literally a British themed pub. I felt at home. And I think in the Hub there's definitely a higher proportion of Japanese people who can speak English, as well as just foreigners. Every time I'd go to the Hub I would see other foreigners. So you're in no danger of not being able to find people to speak to if you're willing to go out. You don't have to drink, I'd say that. Like if you just go to these places, you can like have a soft drink or have just food, and just be, as long as you put yourself out there, you're gonna find people to hang out with. I was kind of an introvert for most of my teenage years as well, so I know it can be difficult. But I think if you've got the guts to move to Japan, then you've got the guts to get out of your apartment and just go to a bar, go to a pub. It's gonna be really embarrassing the first few times you do it. You're gonna make mistakes, but it's okay, because that's all part of the learning process of figuring out like what can you say, what can you do, what is socially acceptable. If you're like not used to those situations, I can 100% sympathize with that kind of situation, because that was my situation as well. But yeah, And also, I've actually made friends with a local izakaya owner, and she's invited me to dinner multiple times. She tried to set me up with her daughter at one point. That was really awkward. Um, and she invited me to onsen, and like she's my friend for all intents and purposes. So as long as you put yourself out there and you meet people, and also I would say you do not need to speak Japanese to make Japanese friends, but you need to make an effort to speak Japanese. Like if you're just speaking English and English and English, and they're trying to speak to you in English, but you're not trying to reciprocate that by speaking some Japanese, then they're just gonna feel like you're not making the effort. Like, if you're in Japan, try and learn some Japanese phrases, and that'll go a long way to making friends. Included in the social stuff is like the dating and romance stuff, which I think that could be its own video entirely. But I think some of these things I've mentioned could be whole videos. I'm not going to speak too much about the dating stuff because I do think I want to make a video on that in the future. And also that whenever I search YouTube videos on Japan, dating ones always seem to be very popular because you're a bunch of pervs. I mean, I also watch those videos, so I'm kind of pot kettle black here. But I will say in the year that I've been here, I've been on dates with 4 Japanese women. 2 of those didn't get past the second date. 1 of those got to a 3rd date, and then I just got blanked. And the last one is actually my current girlfriend of 4 months, and I'm going steady with her, so that's quite nice. I'll mention Tinder briefly. If you're in Japan, weirdly, I've had some success with it. In the UK, no success with Tinder, absolutely none. But in Japan, get a few matches every now and then. I'll say don't use it now, but I will say if you're in Japan and you want to meet a girl, or you want to meet a guy, and you don't have any other way of doing it, dating apps, they're quite popular over here. Oh, and also, if you're in Japan, if you're in Tokyo specifically, easy. Google search or Facebook search for drinking events or social language exchange events. They are everywhere. I went to one last year in Sendai, and it was maybe about 1,500 yen for foreigners and 2,000 yen for Japanese. It was literally go to a hotel, go to a nice big room. Here's a giant crate of alcohol, and here's some food. Talk to each other, and it was fantastic. I loved that night. It was brilliant. A lot of young people there as well. So if you're sort of younger, I've seen pictures and videos of ones in Tokyo where it's a much more wider range of ages. So I think mine was just happened to be younger people, but I think you can if you're a slightly older gentleman or lady, then you can probably meet people there your same age. If you're going to these things for dating reasons, I definitely got the feeling that it was kind of half the reason I think people were there was because they wanted to meet someone like to date, and the other half was just I want to drink cheap. And speaking of drinking cheap, if you go to izakayas or most bars, you can do what's called nomi hodai, which is literally all you can drink, and it tends to be about like 3,000 yen per person for like an hour or 2 hours, and you can really drink as much as you want. Which, as a British person, we don't have anything like that in the UK. To me, that was beautiful. Normally when you get nomi hodai, you can choose like any kind of beer or